Welcome to Dominus Nisi. Today I have a guest here in the studio, and I'm so glad to introduce one of the youth from Melbourne. And then we got some special news about this youth. But let's welcome Avin to the show.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you for coming. And I know that this is a busy time, like a Christmas time, and then it's great to see that you have some time to share with us. I really would like to share your story during this Christmas time because youth is always struggling to find out the power of Jesus and then becoming a disciple of Jesus. But you, as a youth, I would say you born in other place, but you were raised from very young age here, and then finding out the power of that Jesus Christ, and then continuing your journey along with Jesus. That's why you are here. So I would like you to introduce where you are from and what's your parents doing, and then what are you doing here.
Yeah, so I was born in Kerala in Kottayam.
Mm-hmm.
I have two older brothers, and there's my parents, James and Gracie, and my brothers are Ashwin and Ayush.
Mm-hmm.
My parents are both nurses at Campbelltown Hospital in Sydney. My oldest brother works in IT, in defence in Canberra.
Yeah.
And my middle brother works in Sydney in IT as well. They've been doing a bit of changing careers, but they've been very blessed with the jobs that they have. My dad used to be an accountant back in the day, but when he moved to Australia, he changed careers and took on
To nursing.
Nursing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I pretty much grew up in Australia. I've been here since about year 3.
Yeah.
I lived in Campbelltown pretty much for all my life till about 2 years ago now. I moved to Melbourne to get closer to our eparchy, as well as after a lot of discernment on what my vocation and calling is, and to pursue full-time work here as well.
So where you work at the moment?
Yeah, I work at L'Oreal, the cosmetics company.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yes.
Interesting for, I think, all the youth, right?
Yes. When I first moved here, that was my welcoming present to everyone, just products for everyone. But yeah, it's an amazing workplace. I've learned quite a bit in the 2 years that I worked there. And yeah, I've done my bachelor's in business management, and I just completed my master's in management. And I work as an e-com executive at L'Oreal. Yeah. So I've been here 2 years now, and it's flown by.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, you are in a real secular world in your workplace, and then it's an interesting area that you can really mix with lots of party life, and then that type of very exciting life. But why you are in the other side of the world? Like, what is your real transformation or the connection with the Lord?
Yeah, it started with my faith formation, I guess. One thing that was brought to me as a child was my parents were very great examples. They taught me by their actions, and they gave me that basic fundamental formation in the home, from daily prayer.
Yeah.
And participating in Kurbana and Holy Mass. My mum always took me to Mass every day. As a young child, it wasn't something that I enjoyed, but waking up early in the morning, having to go. But over the years, you realize what a blessing that was to have. From that initial formation, I went to catechism and our formation within our community and our church back in Campbelltown, and then slowly, my faith started to get much more stronger and deeper. Because that turning point for me was when I had my first Christ encounter experience. It was at a retreat when I was in primary school, just going to high schoolish, year 7, 8, and I had that first time experience with Christ, and that was such a spiritual high where you realize that everything that your mum's been talking to you about all these years, why she talks about it so confidently. But it's not all uphill from there. I did have my falls and challenges going through it, and later, once I was in uni, I had when I was probably at the lowest point in my faith, there was the opportunity to go to a Shalom event
Mm-hmm.
in America called SBF Shalom. It's called SMS.
SMS. Oh, okay, yeah.
Shalom Media Summit.
Mm.
And part of that was seeing all these youth from Australia be so confident in their faith. Coming back, I was on fire spiritually, seeing how much these guys are doing. What am I doing in my position?
Yeah.
Through that and being involved in Shalom, I got into youth leadership, and that was the beginning of SMYM in around 2018 or so. And I remember getting straight involved into it from day one, and being part of a community that was full of like-minded youth. What I realized was it's not just me out there that's going through all these challenges or being confused in my faith. Up to that point, I want to say it was probably blind faith or trust, because that's what I've been taught and that's how I was brought up. It was only when I took on my faith personally and decided, okay, I want to develop this relationship myself. I want to answer the questions that is out there. Every reason why someone doesn't come to the faith, I want to be able to answer that for the youth. Even though both my brothers were great role models, they were very actively involved in JY. My parents were involved in Shalom and the church activities. My mom was a catechist teacher. Dad was a kaikara narapali. But for me, it was still, they were always my family first more than a role model. I wanted to be the role model for the next bunch of youth. It was hard to see men or young men in our church take on that role of being a true disciple. So I set the expectation for myself to be that role model for the next generation. And taking that step, being involved in the whole journey, I think that's creating that community was initially the most important part. Finding like-minded people that have the same struggles or are going through something similar, but point you to Christ. It's finding that kind of core group.
Yeah, that's a great path. And I'm so glad to hear that Shalom SMS helped you to find out your real potential, because I know that lots of youngsters found Christ in that in their own skill set area, which is great, because that's all the ministry is helping to take the youngsters to the next level. So your call, leaving your home and then coming to Melbourne and then putting your own faith to become a role model for a younger generation, that's a great decision, isn't it? Because you're missing your mom and dad and brothers, and maybe all your younger age of school, of friendship and everything. So you're leaving that behind and then coming for a great cause. That's a real motivation. So just checking, you mentioned SMYM. So for my listeners, can you explain a bit more about SMYM?
Sure. So SMYM stands for the Syro Malabar Youth Movement. It is the youth function of the Youth Apostolate or the Eparchy's youth team. So every parish, mission, church that's part of the Syro Malabar Eparchy of Melbourne has an SMYM function. So that's the youth in that relevant parish. So when I was in Campbelltown, I was part of SMYM in Campbelltown, and now being a proud member of St. Mary's Melbourne West.
That's where we found what you're doing in your youth group. I do remember you were teaching in youngsters. You're doing which grade?
Year 11 this year.
So, and was hearing lots of inspiring stories from students that they have so much connection to a youth teacher rather than a parent, because they have similar experience, similar issues, and then they can talk a bit more freely. So I think that's where they connected quickly with youngsters like you. So it's a great I would say achievement as a youth to be involved in the youngsters. So could you explain your activities in SMYM Melbourne West? So how are you motivating the West? And that's the reason why you are here, because our show is more of like taking that local heroes from Melbourne West and then people who are spreading love, joy and peace. And I know you're doing that. So can you explain your activities here?
Being part of SMYM, I was part of the national team. I'm finishing up in February. But something that we know is it's about going to the roots. So being a fundamental member of your community.
Mm.
So what that means is SMYM isn't a separate or entity organization or anything like that. It is part of the church or part of your parish.
Yeah.
So that could be my main focus or my main goal coming in from my experience, I guess, would be one, when I came in, something that I realized was it was hard for a newcomer. Definitely was a challenge.
Yeah.
Not because everyone was so not welcoming or anything. It's more the fact that compared to previously, I guess it was a lot more introverts. So one of the challenges that I took on was to create an environment where any youth can come in, and youth are encouraged to come. So spreading that joy and love of bringing them along. I remember we had a few new youth international students join our parish very late into the year, and we were just building the crib for Christmas, and we're just bringing them along. Hey, do you want to help out and have a chat? What are you doing? So creating that kind of a bond or a connection with them where they might not have got that opportunity, where they might have just been coming to go and leave, but also being involved in youth ministry. So we've had a few retreat programs in the West, and I'm part of the resource team. So being able to share my testimony, and take on sessions on topics that are highly relevant to our youth and questions that they have, where they might have asked their parents or their teachers, and they're not getting the right answer. It's where their answer might have previously been, that's just the way it is, or that's what we've been taught. But giving them the real theology and the understanding of
why we need to do it.
Exactly, like why our faith is there and why it's so important, and what our true identity is. We are truly Syro Malabar, and it's not just a group, it's a way of life. And how can we live that life is each person that you interact with, no matter where you are, they should be able to see and witness Christ through you, not by your words. There's this beautiful quote, it says, preach the gospel, use words where necessary. So like through your actions and through you, they should be able to witness Christ. And that's just creating that family environment. I remember for this year's Easter, I just had a small get together with all the youth, especially some of the international students, and it was just to bring a plate. Let's just sit down, watch a movie, and to spend some time. Sometimes it's about that fellowship and creating that environment. And at the end they were saying, like, thank you so much for doing this. I was missing home so much, but this, like, instead of going out with friends, I got to celebrate Kurbana for Easter and be part of the whole tradition, as well as create that family bond, and I think that strengthened our community and our youth very much so.
Yeah, it was really like mentioned event in last Easter. They were having like a passion play as well, involving all the youth, and I heard that many people came only because of that, and now they're part of the youth.
Yeah, definitely. Like that passion play, I think it was when we saw all these talented youth in our church that didn't want to come to church for their own personal reasons, but it's about creating those opportunities for reconciliation to come back. We are a community when we grow together, and when they came back, and seeing how things have changed since when they were younger, and giving that spiritual experience for a lot of people, when they participate in the Passion of Christ, one thing I say is make sure you're in constant prayer, because especially when you're enacting the Passion of Christ, is one, you feel that what Jesus felt, and two is that's when you have the most amount of temptations as well. So creating that family in prayer, I think it really opened their eyes to, okay, this is not just something that's made up, there's something real about this.
So I just want to check, like, I know that youth is really active on social media, and then Insta is one of their favorite food, I would say, like always into that, and then you are utilizing that a lot to get attention and then utilizing their skill set. What are the things that you're doing in SMYM to attract youth? I know that it's not just preaching, it's through the doing things.
Exactly, so preaching and yes, the spiritual aspect of it is very important. one thing that I've always said is like for them to experience that spiritual aspect, they need a reason to come in the first place. So we do a lot of fellowship activities, whether that's getting together, going for a hike, watching good Catholic movies. We've been watching a lot of Chosen, and it's a good opportunity to read into the Bible more. That's a starting point. As well as we have sports competition. We've run a volleyball competition, a basketball competition, which has been a community event. So we've invited a few of the other communities as well. And then we've recently just done a short film. So we've just done a short film as part of a national competition. So Melbourne West have submitted. Hopefully will be released I think in February next year. So
watch the space.
Watch this space. Like we are very active and dynamic. You know, it's always changing to the needs of the youth, and it's relevant to them.
Okay, so how do I reach out to SMYM? So is it just for that Syro Malabar youth, or any other people is invited?
Christ is for all people.
Yes.
So of course anyone can reach out to us at any time. I guess the way it was, Syro Malabar is deep rooted in your parish community. You have a sense of purpose and an identity in it. But anyone can reach out to us, and we are one Catholic church. So we're happy to share, and we've met with some of our with the Ethiopian Orthodox Church near us as well. So more than happy to have anyone reach out to us. You can just send us a message on Instagram. It's pretty active on there. Or Facebook.
So what's the handle for Instagram? Is that SMYM West?
SMYM Melbourne West.
Melbourne West.
Yeah. Okay. If you reach out to us on Instagram, we'll send you all the details. Our church, St. Mary's Melbourne West, is is nearby as well. So
you were talking about lots of activities happening in Melbourne West, and one of the other reasons why you are here is you are one of our proud SMYM member, because this year as Melbourne Eparchy did a competition for the young
Australian
young Australian of the year, and then you are the runner-up for that. So congratulations.
Thank you
we are so proud that you are part of our community. We just want to find out what was the process, and then how did you feel about that competition and achieving that award, because it's not even I heard that it was a real tough competition, and it was not from us nominating. It's like outside a person need to nominate. So you need to show something, because you can't really go and get it. So can you explain the process? And
so our cathedral church in Melbourne North, they released this competition as part of one of the events, and they released it to pretty much anyone in Melbourne to participate. And what was meant to happen is someone has to nominate you. So someone in your community or in the local parish communities has to nominate who they think would be relevant to receive this award, and it was a bursary as well. And there was a few criteria. How are they representing Christ? How are they representing their Syro Malabar faith? How are they involved in their community, in their local church? What are they doing to make a difference? So I was very fortunate to be nominated. It's that idea of you hope you're living Christ through actions, not by what you say. So they nominated me based on my involvement in the eparchy on the various levels, and as part of that, once you're nominated, we had to do a little pitch on why we deserved to win.
Do you remember that pitch?
I was trying to forget it. It was but the best part about that whole process, more than the actual award itself or being nominated, the most humbling part was as part of the pitch, you have to write down all your achievements or what you've done or what you've participated in. It's like writing this long list of things that all these different impact that you've had. And I was getting emotional writing about I started in this and I moved into this area, and how I've helped develop that faith for a lot of young people, and give that kind of new source of hey, this is someone we can reach out to if we need a hand or to ask help for. And that was, I think, the most important part for me.
So I think that's more of like a reflection of your whole faith journey, rather than awarding that. It's more of, okay, this is how you started. So looking back, that list of things that you have done to I would say motivating, and then sometimes transforming youngsters. And I think that's what you're really doing in your catechism classes. So can you share some of the testimonies, or like if that you can share? Okay, this, because of this, someone really understands the value of Jesus in their life.
Sure. So at most of my most of the retreats that we do, we normally have a Holy Spirit night, or a night to really surrender yourself to Christ. We have the adoration, the Holy Eucharist is up, and it's just normally after a day of confession and I guess self-sacrifice. And on that Holy Spirit night, I like to share the testimony of when I first like truly put it all on the line, surrendered completely to God. And when I share that testimony, like I will constantly, like I'm already getting emotional thinking about it, but I always cry when I think about that testimony. And I share it because it was me truly giving it 100%. There was no nothing hidden, nothing, no cover-ups. And when the teens and youth see how vulnerable you can be, and see that this Christ, it's not just something I say and preach and talk about every day of my life, but it is something that I've truly experienced. They want to give it a shot. And I've had so many opportunities where, like, one of the best things I can remember is we did a whole month retreat in January when we started, and this girl had all these hard-hitting questions, and I was like trying to answer as best as I could, and I was like, look, this adoration, just give it your best, give it your, and I shared my testimony, and she gave it her all, and at the end of it she came to us and said, like, that was my turning point. And she ended up being part of our team, and sharing her testimony and bringing more youth to Christ. So it's that creating apostles, and being like that Christ to each person, and they want to share more. And it's not like none of us are forced to do what we do. The funniest thing I always think about now is my parents complained, I've never heard anything, but it's because I'm always out doing ministry or
people,
and sharing. And I was like, how they are so proud of me, I would say, of how confident I'm in my faith now. And that's the end goal, like, where every youth can be confident in who they are, who Christ has made them to be, that masterpiece. And also to be confident Catholics, be confident in the Syro Malabar faith.
I think that's where all the parents, especially Keralites, they're coming here just for their kids, and they think about they're achieving their goal in their workplace, and that's where they finished their goal. But thinking that, okay, you are sharing your life to other teenagers to mold their life, concentrating to Jesus, that's where the proud parents comes up, right? So I would say I really blessed having parents like committed to their faith and showing through their day-to-day activities, not through preaching but through practicing. That's great. My couple more questions about the Eparchy of Melbourne. We know that it started recently because we were all part of different churches, but now the Eparchy really have concentration on the youth, and you got a leader, Sojan is really doing a wonderful job. And then he did lots of activities for World Youth Today. Have you done anything related to World Youth Today as a Eparchy SMYM?
Yeah, so I was part of the World Youth Day project team for Australia and New Zealand. So we are part of the Melbourne Eparchy, and that does incorporate New Zealand and a few other neighbouring areas as well. But we are also part of a bigger picture. One, we're part of the greater Syro Malabar Church across the world, but we're also part of something called Combined Mission. So Combined Mission is all the eparchies outside of India itself. So that's Great Britain, Mississauga, Chicago, and so on. One of the best part about World Youth Day is just prior to World Youth Day, we had an event where the Combined Mission came together to share their faith, to share their relevant youth programs and how their talents. Like our brothers and sisters in Chicago are doing an amazing job. They've been around a bit longer than us, but they're still facing some of the same struggles that we are. So it's about sharing that community. But one of the big things we did at World Youth Day was, we went to Fatima and we had a massive concert where we, it was called Days in the Diocese in Laria, I think it's called, yeah. And I think that was the biggest turning point for our youth there, because a lot of the youth that went to World Youth Day were, I want to say, not as involved in the Syro Malabar faith. There was an opportunity to go to World Youth Day, and our church was taking it. Yeah, exactly right. So when they got there, they saw how big we were. Like we are the second largest Eastern
community.
Yeah, right. So to see, okay, we're not this small church. We're not part of this small community. We are part of a bigger church. We're part of the big Catholic Church as well. But to see how involved everyone was and how confident they are in their faith. We have priests already in Chicago that have been brought up in America. So that's the next generation for us. We have seminarians at the moment who are studying. So there's people that are in their faith and involved. And to see that, I think, was the best part of World Youth Day. And then taking that on to the actual World Youth Day, being confident, wearing the flag, wearing our colours.
And being in Fatima also, like, it's a great invite, isn't it?
Exactly right. Yeah. So being World Youth Day, seeing all the places that you've heard about in stories. Like I had the opportunity to go to Lourdes as well after on a pilgrimage, and these you've heard so many stories about this at home. Your mum's told it to you, but when you're there in the moment and you're experiencing it, you've got not just the prayers of you, but the whole world. It's not just a few countries there; everyone's there. To see that kind of to see young people as well. Like one of the things that really stood out to me at World Youth Day was to see confident young Catholic men. That was amazing. There's this pilgrimage that you can do where you actually crawl on your knees and say,
it was really like a viral, right? In social media.
To see the amount of young men do that, like it was an eye opener. Like there's still so much that we can do out there.
We think that we're doing too much.
I always like one of the things that Sojan says, like, there's no burnout, and one of the quotes my best mate always says to me is like, if there's always someone doing something more than you, and if you're if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So keeping yourself to a higher standard and always being humble about it, because there is someone who's more holier than you, but it's not about that. It's not a competition. It's about being the best version of yourself.
Exactly, and I think, experiencing that firsthand is really important, because that will help you to enrich and then again give to other people. So that's a whole trip is like a holy trip for everyone. So I think after the World Youth Day, everyone in the youth, not just in Australia, the whole world, getting that energy to stay for the next 4 years, right? Looking forward to the next one, and then picking youth to prepare them to that journey. That's all part of the whole your own journey as a youth leader. So my question, what was what in your opinion, what will be the top 3 qualities or I can't really say achievements, maybe your behavior that helped to go into that year of that award selection?
Top 3 qualities. So one thing is I'm confident and unapologetically confident in my faith.
Wow, that's a nice word to remember. Yes.
Yeah, it's in my workplace. A lot of people at my workplace know who I am based on my faith. When I was talking with a lot of executives in the company, the first time meeting them, they're like, "Hey, aren't you that guy that's part of that church?" So that conversation has gone around, and it's a positive thing, because even when I got promoted in my recent role, my manager told me the reason I picked you was because of how involved you are in this.
Wow.
Because that passion is seen not only outside but when you're at work, and everyone loves you for it. So there's this misconception, I guess, that you can't be yourself, and you can't be spiritual in your workplace, or you can't be confident in who you are. You have to, there's a lot of closet Catholics out there. Even in my company, one thing I've realized is the amount of Catholics there are in the company, but They
Yes.
never talk about it. It's so sad.
Hiding.
Yeah, exactly. So when they see, when they see me talk about it, like I remember a few of them have come up to me. It's like I'm the only person they can share it with.
Mm.
They don't feel like they can share it with anyone else. So that's the first thing. Be who you are.
Yeah.
Don't hide it, and Christ rewards you with everything. Second thing is give back, and give back without expecting anything in return. That's not just your money or whatever. It is your time, most importantly. The reason why I'm so involved is because I want to be able to give something to the community where that person's able to share it as well.
Yeah.
I'm not holding Christ to myself. I'm not holding my faith to myself. It's to share abundantly. So that's the second biggest thing. And the third thing is truly understand who you are. Take the time to reflect. Understand your roots, your culture. Like my favorite activity whenever we go to anyone's house is to always sit with the parents. My brothers will go and play with other kids, but I'll always just sit there and listen to what the parents have to say, because they have the best stories. Understanding where they've come from, what their experience have been. That's the starting of my journey of understanding who I am. I remember being not Malayali enough to be Malayali, and not being Australian enough to be Australian. Like it's this mix, but I am exactly where I'm meant to be.
Yes,
and
the beautiful, wonderful creation of your
you're
God.
God's
Yes.
masterpiece.
Exactly.
You're created with a purpose and blessed, and understand that about yourself. Truly loving what God has given you.
That's great. I think you have that real clarity in the areas, and when we say that you are the face of that eparchy, that's actually reflecting in you the way that the maturity that you are showing, and you have the real vision that what you want to do. It's not like blabbering things, but you experienced it, and then you have that real purposes. That's what we need in this current world, to take our youth to the next level, because youth is always attracted to do all these influencing thing, but sometimes the core of faith may go out of it. But I can see that you are in that core, like in the prayer is the core, and being with the communion with the God is the core, and that's where everything's starting on. And I think when people around you, they feel the same, right?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it hasn't always been like this. I haven't always been, where they call, like when I started in SMYM, even the reason I went to SMS, I went pretty kid, like to just go and have
Enjoy
fun.
the life.
Yeah, that's why I went. But when you get there, like Christ, there's, God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called.
Yeah.
So you just have to be willing to give it a shot. Rock up. Even if it's to that movie night or that bake sale, whatever it is, or to that hike. But you can experience Christ in so many different
because
ways.
my teenager boy, he always say that if I ask him, can you go this retreat, can you go there, he never say no. He will say, yeah, it's okay, I'll go enjoy, but there is something that I can pick it up. It's like, it's not like 100% he will be getting, but every youth believe that, like even though I'm going for that trip mode, there will be something I will grab, because that's a good way of looking into that first point of view, and then once God touched, then you will be qualified.
In massive ways.
So that's great. I would like to know what will be your message to the youth who are listening you now.
First thing, remember to let go and let God. Like there's so much in your control, but the best for you, God knows, and He has a will and a purpose and everything for you. You just have to be willing to give Him a chance. Second thing, Holy Kurbana, the sacraments, reconciliation. This is so fundamental. There's this misconception or this question like, why can't I just have a personal prayer life and be a good person? Why do I need this? The Kurbana gives you the grace each day, right, to fight temptations, to fight the challenges. And the sacrament of reconciliation reconciles you not only with Christ but with your community. You're one together, and the sacraments complete you and your prayer. They complete your faith. It's not one or the other. It's not just the Bible. Every aspect of that is so important. 3, surround yourselves with great people. I'm so blessed to have such a great community that I'm part of, and I'm so happy that I'm part of SMYM, because I know any state that I go to, even if I go international now, I know I've got a home that I can go into at any time. So surround yourself with people that are confident, and people that are celebrating their faith. That's who I learned from as well, and they will rub off on you.
Yeah.
So I guess those are 3 key things. Just
Speaking of that key thing, I think I picked the last one, celebrating the faith, because it's a time of celebration now.
Yes.
Everyone's celebrating Christmas.
Yes.
But I'm not sure whether everyone's celebrating that faith through the Christmas.
Yeah.
But hearing your story and then your faith journey, I think that's an essence that I can give to my listeners, that there is a strong faith in youngsters. If you're saying that church is dying, it is not. There is a big bunch of group youth is active and alive and then building that church. So that's a hope, isn't it?
Yeah, they say, they always tell us that you are the future, but no, we are the present, and we are on fire, and then we're growing, and we are ready to give it all for Christ. And our community is only growing bigger and bigger. Our faith is only spreading. It's spreading like wildfire. So,
all right, that's great. So thank you for
you
coming. We wish you a Merry Christmas, Blessed Christmas.
Merry Christmas
And then 2024, let many youngsters come and closer to God. That's what the mission, isn't it?
Praise God. Exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much again.
Thank
and
you.
Then, my listeners, this is a wonderful story how you and I can be the missionaries and celebrating the faith through little things, because that's what the 3 things Avin James doing in his life, and spreading love, joy, and peace. So let's celebrate our faith. This is Dominus Nisi, and you are with Bismi.